Hey, everybody. This is Kevin Davidson, your host for Kevin's Corner, real estate from a marketing perspective, and this is episode number 28. So if you guys haven't seen a podcast in a while, go to YouTube channel, Kevin's Corner, real estate from a marketing perspective, and check it out. I got a really exciting podcast for you guys today. We're going to talk to a real good friend of mine that helped me actually get started doing this podcast. And then we're going to have a return guest of Wendy Santana, the branch manager from the Stewart Title Richmond office and the newest escrow officer extraordinaire at the Richmond office, who also speaks Spanish. So I always have to start this off by saying that I don't do this podcast for me or to promote myself. I do it to promote the real estate agents that Stewart Title works with in the Fort Bend County area, as well as the vendors that support the offices and the events and classes that I do. So if you're a real estate agent seeing this podcast, or you are a vendor that operates in the Fort Bend County area and you would like to be on the podcast, love to have you. Give me a call, 832-654-0527, or email me at kevin.davidson@stewart.com. And I also would like to thank the people that for whom this podcast would not be possible: Jennifer Smitis, Caitlin Korner, Devaney Devon, and of course Wendy Santana. They are the reason why I am able to do this. So let's get started. Kevin's Corner, real estate from a marketing perspective, episode number 28. This distinguished gentleman sitting right next to me, his first name is Daray. He's going to tell you his last name because he said I couldn't get it right. I couldn't pronounce it. But he is an amazing guy. He does a lot of things, and he is, at least in my mind, 50% of the reason why I'm doing this podcast. So introduce yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Mr. Davidson, first and foremost, I want to
Mr. Davidson, Kevin. Mr.
Yes, sir. So I'm Southern. I'm from Texas, and we like to be real generous here. But I appreciate that. I just first and foremost want to give all glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here.
Sure.
And then my name is Daray. Last name is Olaleye. That's Nigerian origin. I am a real estate investor with a few other trades on the side.
Okay. First of all, don't be shy. He is a real estate investor. He is a podcaster, and he is a real estate agent. And then on the side, he likes to do notary services for Wendy at the Richmond office.
That is
correct. Okay, so you left out a few things. So let's start off with, you told me earlier that you kind of started real estate investing and podcasting about the same time. Why did you start getting into real estate investing?
How long do we have, Kevin?
15 minutes.
Okay, well, I'll give you the short end of the story. I was a Big Four accountant, and the reason I became a Big Four accountant was because I was taught in school to get good grades and go and work for one of the biggest corporate companies in the world. And if you work there for 5 to 10 years, you'll start making anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000, and that was my goal. So I didn't care about what the job was. I was good with numbers, so I thought, why not? So I became an external auditor for a company, a Big Four accounting firm, and I worked like a slave. I hated my job. I hated my coworkers. I hated my bosses. You would think that it was amazing, Kevin. They give you an Amex card. You wear a shirt and tie every day, and you travel a lot. I had a lot of trips to do audits in different places like San Francisco, Arizona, a lot of different cities around the U.S., and it was gruesome. It was tiresome. You would get these per diems for dinner. They'd be like $50 to $75, so you'd get steak and lobster every night, but at the same time, again, you're working till 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. So it took a toll on me, and I realized 2 years in that I was never actually going to be successful. Actually, what's funny is my first check, Kevin, I opened up my first check and I looked at it, and I knew how much I was supposed to make, and I was calculating like what I was going to do with it and all this stuff, and so much money was taken out of my first check, and I was just like, what's going on? And the first person I called, absolutely, the first person I called was my mom. I was like, Mom, like there's so much money taken out of my check. What is this? And she was like, yeah, you're an adult. It's called taxes. I was like, oh my goodness, like 50% of my money was going to taxes. And I was just like, man, this makes no sense, because like I was fresh out of college, right? Mm-hmm. So I had car payments, I have student loan payments. I have rent, and if you have a home, you have a mortgage. So all these payments are going to the bank, and I'm just like, man. So like 50% of my money is going to Uncle Sam, and 50% of my money is going to the bank. And at the end of the year, I don't have any money to really save or invest or do anything for myself. Right. And at the end of the year as well, I'm not really fulfilled in what I'm doing. So I started feeling like, what's the point of this? I felt like a hamster on a hamster wheel.
So you returned your what you got back out of the job from a financial standpoint was the reason why you were not happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I read a book one day, and I hated reading. I hadn't read a single book my entire adult life.
Unless it's about music, I can't read either.
Right.
I hate it.
I couldn't do it. And I read a book one day, and that book was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
I think almost everybody's either read it or should read it.
Right. Yeah. And after that day, like I started reading about a book a week. I read about 50 books a year. I've read over 300 books. Like I'm a voracious reader because of that book. That book allowed me to buy my first property. And I bought my first property 30 days after reading that book.
30 days, wow. So that's why you became a real estate investor.
That is.
Now, what was the reason and vision for the podcast?
So I ran into another hurdle. Now I was no longer employed, right? So I was working for myself. Or was I working for myself at the time? I was not working for myself. I got fired from my Big Four accounting job, and there's a whole story about that. I'll talk about that like on everybody's podcast. So we'll save that. I got fired from my Big Four accounting job, and I went to go find another job while I was building my portfolio to build my passive income so that I didn't have to work anymore. And I realized that buying a property that costs $200,000 and you're putting $20,000 to $40,000 down, buying that to make, let's just say $250, which is what I was making, dollars a month in profit, right?
Because you were renting it.
Yes, because I was renting it. I didn't have another $30,000 to put down to make $250 a month, and I needed about 20 more $30,000 down payments to get to my goal. So I was just like, dang, like this is gonna take way too long. Yeah. What can I do? So I started looking at different ways to invest, and I stumbled upon a way to invest called syndications, apartment syndications, large apartment syndications. So I joined a group and I started syndicating apartments in Dallas. And my first deal was a 300-unit apartment complex, and it was for 302 units. It was for $40 million. And I was responsible for raising $1 million. Let me take that back. I was responsible for raising $500,000. I told the lead investor, again, this is Daray, who knows nothing about investing. I only have a few single family homes at the time. I've never raised money from I've never asked anybody for money, but I was so hungry. I was so ready to like be successful. So I told the lead investor, I was like, I could raise $1 million. Like, why not? Like, I know a lot of people. And he was like, well, I'll put you down for $500,000, Daray, and we'll see where it goes. So the next few months, I'm building out a course because I want to help other people house hack, because I started house hacking. I bought a fourplex in Dallas for $500,000. This is my third property, and people went crazy because of how I was able to buy that property and live for free and all this stuff. So I started house hacking. So I was building out a course to house hack, and I started raising money for this deal. And I was doing both of these major projects to quit my job. That was always the goal. I needed to quit my job. So I thought that these two projects would allow me to quit my job. So as I hired my mentor to help me raise money for this deal, teach me about apartments, the first thing that he had me do was, before I do any money raising, before I learn about syndications and how to talk to investors and how to make sure that I get the deal done, right? And I pay this guy like $12,000, and I didn't have any money. Like, I put it all on my cards because I was just like, if I can do this, I'll be successful for the rest of my life. So I was like, imagine paying somebody all this money, right? And then the first thing that they tell you to do before they tell you to start investing, or before they tell you how they invest, the first thing that they tell you to do is to get on social media and build a profile.
It's part of the process.
And I'm just like, dude, I just paid you $12,000. What do you mean, like, go like get on Twitter and Instagram? Like, I don't have time for that. Like, teach me what I need to know so that I can make money.
Right.
Because I was obsessed. And he was just like, slow down.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. He was just like, slow down. Like, I'm teaching you the process. It's kind of like that wax on, wax off, Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid movie. I don't know if you guys remember that, but and I was just like, all right, let me just listen to what this guy's telling me. And my mentor, his name is Joe Fearless. You guys can look him up. And he's actually one of the biggest real estate investors in the world. And he had Joe Fearless.
Oh, from Bigger Pockets.
From Bigger Pockets, yep. And he has the longest running daily podcast in the world. It's been running for like 12 years daily. My old
boss used to be on it on a regular basis.
Right, exactly.
Steve Rosenberg.
Yep. Yeah. Steve was on my podcast as well. Yep. So ultimately, Joe told me I needed to build a platform, and I was so mad. I was like, no, Joe, I want to start investing this, and that. He was like, all right, well, just do what I tell you to do and see what happens. So the reason that I started the podcast was because my mentor told me to. I didn't want to. So I started the podcast because the way that he invested was by making friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the more friends you had, the easier it was to go about life, the easier it was to do business.
Well, there's more people in your sphere that grows that can help you grow yourself.
Right. And I started seeing so many benefits of what he was showing me. Like within the first year of my podcast, I took off. Like I had hit iTunes Business Podcast Top 100. And I was just like, man, like this is so crazy. It's so dope. Now I have income from the podcast, right? The course that I was building out, now I have an audience to sell that course to. Like there were so many things that fell in place because I had the podcast, but this happened later on. Mm-hmm. Again, earlier on, it was like, grow this podcast, start raising money for this deal, and build out your course. So again, I started the podcast because my mentor told me to. It ended up being a great success, and I was able to benefit from that, but I didn't want to do it. And your podcast is all about marketing, and my podcast was to be more marketable, to be able to raise money.
Very nice. So for everybody listening to this out there, it is possible to succeed, even when you have to do things you don't want to do.
Absolutely.
All right. So this, real quick, you are also a real estate agent. So who are you with?
KW.
KW. So KW means Keller Williams.
Keller Williams.
And which one is that?
Which one is what?
Which Keller Williams?
Oh, Signature.
And Signature is over off of 290?
It's in Katy.
In Katy.
Yep, it's in Katy. Okay. You're kind of not close, but
no,
it's cool.
Well, I was thinking of the other one. Yeah. There's another one off of 290, so
it's all good.
Okay. So he is a professional real estate investor. He is a professional podcaster, and he is a professional real estate agent, along with helping Wendy out with notary services when she needs for closing transactions. And this podcast is about marketing from a real estate perspective, or real estate from a marketing perspective. So what do you do? What would you advise everybody to do that's watching this if they wanted to grow their business? How would you suggest they do it?
Well, I would take some advice that my mentor gave me and figure out a way to become friends with as many people as you can.
And doing that means social media, it means website, it means networking, it means all of the above.
And going about it in a systematic way.
What do you mean?
I'm a math-driven person. I told you my background is in accounting. Yeah. I'm a very math-driven person. Everything I do is it's math-intensive. So if I want to close a certain number of deals a month, I want to know from what number I need to start at to work backwards. Mm-hmm. So if someone is looking to market their business, well, what is their goal and how do they work backwards to get to that goal? So if it's an agent, for instance, if you want to close 2 deals a month, then what does the top of that pipeline look like, right?
I teach agents the same thing when they tell me, well, I can't afford to do that. So I okay, hang on. So if it costs you $50 a month, and over a 12-month period, that's $600, and you get one lead from that that turns into a $300,000 deal,
right?
That's $9,000 commission before taxes and brokerage fees. Let's say it's $7,000 you walk away with. You're telling me you're not willing to spend $6 to make $7? Oh, well, when you put it like that, yeah.
Right. They have to understand. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a little mind game sometimes because people don't want to spend money. People want to invest money, and if they don't believe it's an investment, they're not gonna do it. So if they understand that at the end of this, the system works, whatever that system is, that I will get one deal in the next 12 months by spending this $50 a month, then I'm gonna do it. But if they doubt the system, or if they doubt themselves, because that's another thing, it may not be the system at all. It may be doubting yourself and your ability to implement whatever it is that you're being taught. So that's again where your money may not be spent and do whatever it is that they're asking. So
yeah, it's a mindset. It kind of goes along the lines with the disc profiling. You familiar with that?
I am. I take that test every year.
Yeah. So I'm a strong CS with
me as well.
A lot of I in me because I can.
So you're a strong everything.
Well, I don't consider it myself to be a strong D. I'm just teasing. I'm learning how to do that. But yeah, I'm a numbers person too, but I adapted to when I started my career. I never thought that I would be doing public speaking or teaching CE classes, or, for that matter, teaching real estate agents how to grow their business through marketing campaigns. But when you realize that you have a gift for it, or you're good at it, people want to listen to you. People want to, So that's how I help the Richmond office and the Sugar Land office grow, by getting agents' attention and helping them grow because none of the brokerages teach this. Brokerages don't teach. They teach them how to stay out of trouble. They teach them how to write a contract. They'll put them at the desk to answer the phone calls to get leads, but they don't actually teach them. You need a company name, a company logo, a company slogan. Who's your target market? How are you going to market yourself? What money are you going to spend? What kind of schedule do you have to do that? They don't teach any of that. And I've been doing that for about 7 years now, and since I got the Stewart title, if I don't meet with 6 to 8 agents on a weekly basis, that's a slow week for me. People are they want help, especially in this market. You know what I'm saying? So, but you have to do the work. You have to create the Facebook pages and the social media pages and the website, the blog page, the video, the YouTube channel, and you have to network. You have to get out there. People tell me all the time, you're everywhere. Well, you have to be.
Omnipresent.
If you're not everywhere, you're not meeting people, then no one knows who you are. A lot of the things that happen at Sugar Land and Richmond office were just because people know who I am. Right. And then Wendy's getting out there and getting her name and face out there, and so is Adriana. Ooh. And so that's going to help them, instead of people calling me and going, who can I send this to? They're going to call me and go, what's Wendy's email address? Or what's Adriana's email address? Because they know us. Right. That's what it's all about. So do you have places, social media, podcast, anywhere that people can go to find you?
You can go to beforethemillions.com if you guys want to check out any of my content. And my real estate website is urbanwealth.com.
Nice. And are you up for helping people? Since you're a real estate agent, you will help buyers, sellers, investors?
I will. And if I am not in a position to help you, I will direct you to the right person to help you.
He's in a position to help you. He can do it all. So can you give me your phone number?
Absolutely. I have a phone number I can give you.
Yeah, give me a phone number.
Yeah. It's 832-844-0887.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you very much for being on the podcast. This is Daray. He's a real estate investor. He is a podcaster. He is a real estate agent. And he helps Wendy Santana at West Notary Services.
I do.
So if he can do it, you can do it. We'll be back in about 2 seconds with segment number 2 of episode number 28 of Kevin's Corner, Real Estate from a Marketing Perspective. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Kevin.
I appreciate it. That's it.